560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So Kevin Warsh, former Federal Reserve Board governor, and possibly Trump's choice to replace Jerome Powell, most likely not before next May when Powell's term expires. He was on Bartiromo over the weekend talking about Powell's performance and whether or not interest rates should be cut, since this seems to be one of Trump's hobby horses, but not his alone. And here's what Kevin Warsh had to say.
So the president's right to be frustrated with Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve. Inflation comes when the government spends too much. That's the spending you're talking about, and prints too much. And the government's done just that thing over the last 4 or 5 years. The government needs to put its fiscal house in order and its monetary house in order. The president took a good shot at putting the fiscal house in order through this tax bill. We're going to grow a lot more than the Congressional Budget Office says. The U.S. is on the cusp of, I think, a radical improvement in our productive capacity. The tax bill is part of it. Deregulatory policy is part of it. Spending reductions are part of it. And the Fed needs to get on board.
I mean, look, President Trump is doing his part. I mean, a lot of hysteria over his tariffs, and yet look what just happened. The tariffs actually brought in $27 billion for the month, customs duties. You're talking about $100 billion on an annualized basis for tariffs, and we have a budget surplus for the month of June. Should the Federal Reserve be cutting interest rates right now?
So in a word, yes. Maria, it's quite simple. Why is it that money and financial conditions are so loose on Wall Street and considerably tighter on Main Street? Because the Fed has the policy mix exactly wrong. It has a big balance sheet like we're in the 2008 crisis or the 2020 pandemic, and has rates that are too high. It needs to shrink the Fed balance sheet and cut interest rates. In so doing, Main Street can get a much lower cost of credit. First-time home buyers can find their way into houses, and the policy mix would be right. I don't know if I'm just saying that because I grew up 200 miles from here in a sort of place far from the bright lights in big city. But Main Street needs to get its break, and it's high time they do it, and the Fed can be part of that.
I played those clips mainly to enrage our next guest, John Tamny, editor of RealClearMarket's.com, the author of the book The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So, how do you respond to Kevin Warsh, and please do weigh in on the Jay Powell's future, because this is what CNBC obsesses about.
Oh wow, books could be written about what Warsh said. There's just so much incorrect there. Inflation's one thing; it's one thing only. It's a devaluation of the currency. I think government spending is the worst tax of all. It's the biggest barrier to economic growth, but it has nothing to do with inflation. And so when you listen to Warsh make arguments like that, you really wonder, and you're reminded of what they said about central bankers long ago, what Walter Bagehot said: it attracts vain men. Warsh is willing to say anything. Same with Kevin Hassett. They're all willing to say anything to get nominated. And when we know what the truth is, central banks, presidents can't alter market reality. Interest rates are what they are. Central banks can't change that. I'll just add one thing. Who is the richest man in the world? Elon Musk. Let's point him out, because when his businesses were struggling in the 21st century, when interest rates were at zero, he couldn't get anyone to lend him money. He couldn't get any equity finance, yet these guys all act as though the Fed can just decree credit cheap and it will be there. That's not how the world works.
Well, that's I'm glad you used that illustration, because that's what you mean when you say interest rates don't matter, in the sense that you can set them artificially. But, it's sort of that you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him lend kind of thing.
Well, absolutely. Isn't it funny how our side, it's just accepted wisdom on the right that, well, rent controls don't work when they've tried them in cities.
Mm-hmm.
You can artificially set the price of something really low, but the supply will naturally not be there. Yet somehow with interest rates, somehow with the cost of accessing dollars, which gets you access to every market good in the world, somehow with that, the Fed can make that just cheap by decree. Where's the outrage? Where is the disdain for these people who would say this? And I would add, Kevin Warsh is married to the daughter of a billionaire. Why does he want this job so badly? What is so great about being Fed chairman that you would give up any sort of principles that you have, any beliefs in rational thought? Why would you say anything to get this job? What's so great about it?
Well, I mean, it's status. I mean, look at. I mean, we talked about this a bit. When did we? Oh, a bit the other day with our friend Frank, the history teacher. I mean, look at Alan Greenspan. Alan Greenspan, was Leonard Peikoff's buddy. He was a Randian, and look what happened to him when he became Fed chairman. But he still wanted it. I mean, he comes from a Randian perspective. You think he would be a little bit skeptical of central bankers, but then he became one, and he rather enjoyed the creature comforts.
No, you're absolutely right. I can say at least with Greenspan is he was at least still somewhat lesser known. He wasn't married to the daughter of the L'Oreal.
He was married to Andrea Mitchell at NBC News.
That was after he got.
That's
her.
true.
The status won him Andrea Mitchell, but look, I hear
what a prize, what a payoff.
Yeah, I mean, why does Scott Bessent? He's worth how much? Why did he want the Treasury job so badly when you then, once you're in that position, have to say so much that is so completely ridiculous? Kevin Hassett was saying the other day that, well, actually tariffs aren't really causing rising prices. Americans feel patriotic buying American. I mean, he knows that's utter nonsense. All to get the Fed position? I don't understand these people.
Well, and by the way, you're not offering any defense to Jay Powell's tenure as Fed Reserve Chairman either, because you're really not offering much in the way of legitimacy to any Fed chairman, is my understanding.
Absolutely. This isn't me defending Powell. It's just me saying that Powell or whomever replaces them can't alter reality. I mean, think about what your reaction to me would be if I came on and said, oh, Dan, Apple's charging too much for its MacBooks, and so here's what the price would be. You would laugh at me. You'd look at me like I had one eyebrow. Yet somehow these people go on national TV consistently and talk about what the price of credit should be. The price of credit is different for every single individual on earth. It's different for every single different corporation. Warsh is surprised that the price of credit on, quote, Main Street is different from Wall Street. Well, why should he be surprised by that? That's only natural. People on Main Street theoretically don't have the means to pay back monies borrowed as easily as people on Wall Street. Of course there's a different price, and the Fed can't change that.
On the issue of tariffs, just to build off some of what you're hearing from the Trump administration, including Bessent, and it was mentioned by Bartiromo there. This from the Financial Times. America's trading partners have largely failed to retaliate against Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs, allowing the president, taunted for always chickening out, to raise nearly $50 billion in extra customs revenues at little cost. 4 months since Trump fired the opening salvo, only China and Canada have dared to hit back at Washington, imposing a minimum 10% global tariff, 50% levies on steel and aluminum, 25% on autos. At the same time, the U.S. revenues for customs duties hit record high of $64 billion in the second quarter, $47 billion more than over the same period last year. China's retaliatory tariffs, the most sustained and significant of any country, have not had the same effect, with overall income from customs duties only 1.9% higher in May of 2025 for the Chinese communists than the year before. So, John, we're winning.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that interesting? Our side has historically been, well, we're for limited government. But I've yet to meet a Republican who doesn't cheer for more tax revenue. I'm so confused. And again, you and I could get into the obvious that if you put taxes on imports, that's not a winning thing. That just means that we're less reliant, we're less engaged, we're less tessellated, we're working less with the rest of the world. And when you're dividing up work with fewer people around the world, you're naturally less productive. Doesn't anyone remember Adam Smith's pin factory? One man working alone could maybe produce a pin per day, but 10 men working together could produce tens of thousands. There's value in people dividing up work globally, but suddenly that doesn't matter anymore either. More government revenue. And for what? What will the government do with it?
Well, I mean, they're going to return it to the taxpayers, of course. I mean, I know. Everything is, hey, is the references, and this is from Republicans too. We saw this with the BBB. We're seeing it to some extent with, this momentous rescissions package that needs to get through the House by tomorrow, so we can cut $9 billion that was already allocated out of a $6 trillion, $7 trillion budget, and declare ourselves fiscal conservatives. But just on the government spending side, because Milton Friedman said something back in the day that I think I could explain it, but I'm going to defer to you. It's really important because it focuses your attention on the thing that matters, and forces an understanding that is sometimes difficult to grasp because of all of the bloviations and all of the sort of the politically angled misstatements that come from really both sides. But I just wanted to play this Uncle Milty classic and get your distillation of it.
As I said before, keep your eye on one thing and one thing only, how much government is spending, because that's the true tax. Every budget is balanced. There is no such thing as an unbalanced federal budget. You're paying for it. If you're not paying for it through it in the form of explicit taxes, you're paying for it indirectly in the form of inflation or in the form of borrowing. The thing you should keep your eye on is what government spends. And the real problem is to hold down government spending as a fraction of our income. And if you do that, you can stop worrying about the debt.
I love the part about that I love the most because it's become one of the biggest and most repeated lies and stupid debates is this idea of we passed a balanced budget, so we have an unbalanced budget, we have a budget deficit, we need to close the deficit to get to a balanced budget. There's no such thing as an unbalanced budget.
Well, absolutely. And can I add that a balanced budget in the United States, whereby you have access to the production of the most innovative and enterprising people on earth, is the equivalent of slam dunking on a 5-foot basket when you're 6 feet tall. I mean, who couldn't? You're getting in enormous amount of revenues. Now, to Friedman's point, it's all balanced. It's just one. You're either borrowing it or you're taxing it, but you're getting the money, and that's truth. The stuff about inflation, that's utter nonsense. But the simple truth that what we should focus on is the extraction. It doesn't matter whether it's taken away in taxes or through borrowing. The extraction is the problem. That is the burden right now. But it's an unseen burden. We don't know all the wealth we're not creating. We don't know all the health advances not occurring. We don't know all the transportation advances not taking place. We don't know all the amazing jobs we're not doing because government's extracting so much. And so that's what we should focus on, but no one does.
John Tamny, editor of RealClearMarket's.com, author of The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks as always.
Thanks for having me.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Honey, we're not moving, but we gotta do something about this kitchen.